Hello, everybody. Well, my name is Rick Collins. I am a situational awareness specialist, if you will, and a founder of a new company called Safe Incorporated that stands for Situational Awareness for Everyone. Myself and my colleagues have applied our situational awareness skills in some of the most dangerous places on the planet. And one of the key points of concern that has always bothered me is that the average person can't learn situational awareness. It's generally reserved for government employees, classrooms, long courses, not easily accessible for the average person. So we have kind of taken our collective, I think it's 80 plus years of knowledge, and put it together into something that's going to be accessible for everybody on their smartphones, on their computers, and we're actually working on a video game as well so that the millennials can actually get in amongst it. So what is, I guess I need that clicker thing, don't I? Which is where? Oh, good, thank you. Nobody did that earlier, did they? So, okay, so there's me. So situational awareness. And now, some of you are smiling. Some of you look a little perplexed. Can I ask why?
It's the flashy nose.
My nose. Well, you can have a red nose as well. This is an example of situational awareness. You had a preconceived notion in your mind of what I was going to look like when I come on the stage. And the last thing in your mind was a flashing red nose. And it's kind of like the hiccups. If you think about whenever somebody around you gets the hiccups, you always notice, don't you? You always want to have a giggle at it and give them some crazy grandma's version of how to get rid of them. But we notice them. We notice them because they're innocuous, they're non-threatening, and our mind tells us, hey, it's okay. We can notice that. It's fun. But situational awareness as a safety and security tool is a lot more serious. So I'm going to take this off now, if you don't mind. Here is the clinical version or the scientific version of what situational awareness is all about. And really, it is kind of a science. It's applied in data, cybersecurity, predictive analysis, fighter pilots wouldn't even think of flying a fighter plane without having such a heightened sense of situational awareness. They just wouldn't be able to do it. To us on the ground and to you, the general population, it is really a situation where you want to know and identify what's going on around you so that you can act before something bad becomes a reality. It was a big part of our DNA back in the day. And when I say back in the day, caveman era. Because they had to have situational awareness skills, or a big lizard with short little arms is going to be eating them for lunch and breakfast and dinner. As we've evolved, situational awareness as part of a life-saving skill has really kind of become dormant because we're not all at risks of, T-Rexes coming down Fifth Avenue, for example. So my mission this time around of trying to save lives and prevent tragedy and loss is that I want to take my skills and our team skills and I want to give them to you. And I want to find a way for you all to be aware. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer because there's enough of that going around, but I want to talk about 4 particular examples of where situational awareness could have prevented loss of life. I'm not going to mitigate the events. As a society, we tend to invest 95% of our time in post-analysis, maybe 5% in actually preventing something from happening. I think it's a societal trait. Once that first round's gone off, you're too late. I see it all the time, the active shooter drills. Sorry, but by the time that drill's in action, somebody's likely dead. I see these so-called specialists talking about cameras, talking about metal detectors. Active shooters couldn't care less about a camera or a metal detector. But people think they're safer because they have them. Well, this situation in Mandalay Bay in October 2017 was the largest mass shooting in the US history. And it could have been prevented had I had the opportunity to go into the Mandalay Bay and teach the staff some basic rules of situational awareness. So the shooter, and I'll never mention his name, he checks in on the 25th. He gets a room on the 32nd floor, facing the concert. It's comped. He's a regular. Did he ask for the 32nd floor? Did he ask for the room on the end? Maybe, probably. Not a big deal as a first event. But then over the next 5 or 6 days, he took up 22 bags full of weapons and ammunition, a veritable arsenal. Now, he didn't take them up himself. Staff took them up. And if you've ever picked up even just a box of ammunition, it is heavy. This guy had 24 semi-automatic rifles, a dozen 100-round magazines, a breech-loading rifle, a pistol, and copious amounts of ammunition. And they were all in his suite. And the final caveat was when he also reserved the suite next door, so now he had a full spread of windows over that concert ground. Now, staff never did anything. Security didn't do anything. Everything that was done was too late. But I will bet you a 12-pack of my favorite beer that staff mentioned it. I guarantee somebody down there in the little place where the bellhops hang out say, he's back again. And I took 5 bags up on Monday, and I just took another 7 up. What the hell has he got? Is he gambling in gold? I mean, conversations between workers about the situation that they were noticing, but they weren't putting it in the same category of being a threat. And there we were, 22 bags, weapons, 59 dead people, 527 wounded. Preventable if the people who checked him in at the curb lifted these bags and put them on the trolley. Preventable if the people who took him to his room and put him in his room, or actually, as rumor has it, he actually said, don't bother putting him in the room because he had guns all over the place, and they left him at his door and he put them in himself. Sign after sign after sign that could have been prevented. This one, to me, is the saddest of all the shootings that I have covered and I've talked about over the years. It was so simple in its execution, and it was so easily prevented. Now, there's no point in going back. The report is huge, talking about his mental health issues. The day of the shooting, there was a window of opportunity that if I was the Uber driver, those 17 people would still be with us. So I'm an Uber driver, and I'm sitting there, and I get a call. I got to go pick up this individual, and I got to take him to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Not a big deal. Drive to the house, out he comes. Bing, first alarm goes off. He's carrying a rifle bag. Okay, so here I have a young man. Well, I'm not quite sure. Is he 18? Is he high school age? Is he a little bit older? But he's carrying a rifle bag. Okay. Now, am I taking him to the gun range? Am I taking him to a gun shop? No, I'm taking him to a high school. My head would have been ringing like Westminster Abbey. Pure common sense. So I have this individual in my car. Now I could say, okay, well, maybe he's a school age. Okay, if he's a school age, why is he not in school? This in the middle of the class periods. If he's older than school age, and why is he going to the school? And then you circle around and you circle around and you come back to the rifle in a rifle case. Why does he have a rifle? And why is he going to a high school? And he did. He got up, he picked up his rifle, he got an Uber, that's how much planning went into this situation, went to the high school, and 10 minutes later, 17 people were dead. So easily preventable. So one part of my mission is to teach every Uber and every Lyft driver in this country how to be aware about the demeanor of their passengers, what they're doing. It is also a great preventive deterrent because we have men getting aggressive with women who are trying to catch Uber rides. Uber drivers, Lyft drivers need to be more aware about the people around them. This one is just, it's just heartbreaking because it's so senseless. We have Abby and Libby, 2 girls, Delphi, Indiana. Hey, Mom, we're going to go for a walk down the railroad tracks. Kids do it all the time. Kids have done it for generations. Now, if anybody here has grown up in a kind of a tough neighborhood, we have eyes in the back of our heads. Because if we don't, we're going to get a good beating from some people we don't want to beat from. These 2 young ladies, they didn't need that. It's the furthest thing from their minds. But they hadn't received any sort of situational awareness training that by the time the likely murderer murdered them, he had been following them for a half mile to 2 miles. And by the time they noticed, even when they noticed and they had the presence of mind to take his picture, they still didn't see the threat. They didn't run, they didn't call 911, they didn't call their parents at the end of the railroad track. They didn't do anything, and the last thing that we heard was him saying, "Go down the hill." If they if they had the opportunity to sit in on our course, 40 minutes, guarantee they would have looked and they would have thought more about it to the point where they might have actually turned around and said, "Hey, we've called 911, you need to stop following us." And nothing would make that guy turn around any quicker than that. But there he is, and 2 young ladies lost their lives. And this one is really a societal issue. We are a society that has our eyes down every waking minute that's possible on our cell phones. If we can, as long as we're not doing something. You figure that you'd lift your eyes up, when you're driving a car, but people don't. This young lady went out, had a great time with her friends, called an Uber, was on the phone. Uber turns up, only it's not an Uber. It's a murderer in a car. She looks up, she gets in the car. Minutes later, she's brutally murdered. For the sake of 10 to 20 seconds, she could have looked up and saw that there was no Uber signs on that car, that the driver did not give her name before she gave it to him. And the ironic thing was that she was on her phone, and what the phones have, they have an Uber app. And what does an Uber app tell you? It tells you when the car is there, and it tells you what type of car. And she missed it all. And that cell phone call that she was on cost her her life. So hopefully you see a bit of a trend here, and what I tried to set up was that it could be a big scenario with multiple people having their situational awareness fingers in the pie, if you will, all the way down to you taking ownership for your own safety and applying some brain to it, rather than just kind of assuming it's not going to happen to you. Now, as we get into situational awareness training, we've got to reactivate 3 core functions of the brain. I wish you're not going to absorb it, and your brain is not going to be receptive to it. First thing we got to get rid of is denial. We are an in-denial society. I have had parents tell me, well, there's 100,000 schools in the country and there was only 24 shootings last year. That means the chances of a shooting happening at my kid's school is very remote. And I'm like, really? That's how you want your legacy to be if the next shooting is at your school and your kid is the next victim? We have people going around with their heads in the clouds, and they just don't agree and they don't accept that bad things can happen, and they can happen to them. It doesn't matter how much money, where you live, could be school, could be church. The shooting at the Poway Shabbat near me in San Diego, I watched it all day on the news, and I got a call from a friend, and he said, that was Laurie. I said, what do you mean that's Laurie? My friend Laurie, that I've known for 20 years, was shot in that Shabbat. I was like, wow, okay, this is hitting home. Second one we've got to do, I call it the snake in the bag. If I held out a bag to you and I said, put your hand in there, you probably would. If I said there's a snake in there, you probably wouldn't. But society goes around and we spend a lot of time putting our hands in proverbial bags because we don't think safety. We don't think awareness. We have people telling us what a great job they're doing to keep you safe. And what do? We believe them. What do we do with our kids? We take them to schools and we want teachers to keep them safe. How many times have you got a babysitter? Do you do a background check? Do you see if they've had mental issues? No, because it was so-and-so and, that friend, and yeah, they knew her, and hey, and you give your most precious possession to somebody to look after. We need, as a society, to own our own safety and security postures. Now, short of carrying a gun, mace, maybe I personally love the old grandma with a brick in the handbag, but short of aggressively defending ourselves, we can prevent bad things from happening when we own our own situational awareness environment. And the third one, and my favorite, because I have a little one, trust your gut. Homer trusts his gut. Guaranteed, he doesn't run out of beer and he doesn't run out of food. Your gut instinct is there to help you. It is not there to teach you bad things. It's not there to steer you wrong. When you stand on the edge of a cliff, your gut is telling you not to jump because you will die. Your gut tells you lots of things. That boyfriend, he just doesn't seem quite right. That meal, I'm not sure that's cooked right. Now, do you go ahead and eat it? Possibly. The analogy I use is you're walking down a dark street and your gut's telling you it's a dark street. And over there it's got lamps and it's got shop windows and it's nice and... Do you cross the road? Hell no. Why would you cross the road? There's no threat there. You don't see that murderer or that rapist. Doesn't come in here. And sometimes you don't do it because you're embarrassed. You're like, okay, why am I crossing this road when there's not a gang on the corner? Who cares how stupid or silly you look? Cross the road. Follow your gut. What will happen is once you take the situational awareness course, you will find gut instincts coming up and coming more often. Not because there's more of them, but because your mind is more susceptible to listening to them. This I love. Has anybody seen this video? All the wildebeest crossing the river with the crocodiles? No? Oh, you got to look it up. It is the coolest natural thing that you would ever want to see. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, wildebeest. They all come up and they all line up by the river and they're all there looking in there. And this river is full of crocodiles. The crocodiles are in there going, dinner. The wildebeest are going, All of a sudden, boom, off they go. They all jump in the water. Whoa, just wildebeest, wildebeest, wildebeest. And all these crocodiles are in there going, damn it, I nearly got one of them, and then the next one kicked me in the head, and then I had this one's hoof, and somebody stomped on my head. I mean, did you get anybody today? No, I didn't, Fred, sorry, but hey. And then all of a sudden, you got 100,000 wildebeest on the other side of the river. Now, what I love about this photograph is look at the zebras. I didn't know zebras were that smart. What are they doing? They're just kind of standing around, hanging around on a rock, going, "Hey, good job, wildebeest. You keep doing your thing." And once there's enough wildebeest between them and the crocodiles, the zebras are going to take their own ownership of their own safety, and they're going to go, "Okay, chaps, let's go. It'll be easy for us." The point I want to make here is that if this lady learns situational awareness, she owns her own situational awareness zone. But if everybody in this room learns it, we now have a collective mindset. And one of the biggest challenges we have with that see something, say something mantra is that people see things, but they're not quite sure what it was that they saw. Or they don't want to report it because they don't want to be a snitch, or they don't want to embarrass somebody, or they don't want to get somebody in trouble. But if everybody's learned situational awareness, and you see it, and you see it, and you see it, now you can report it, and you can avoid it with conviction. I got a video of the garlic shooting at the Garlic Festival in California, and it's pretty scary. Everybody's running, and there's a tall blonde, and I'm not making a blonde joke, so don't get offended, but there's this blonde lady on a phone walking towards the shooter, completely oblivious until somebody nearly physically grabbed her and said, "Hey, there's a shooting going on down there." Situational awareness is the best force multiplier, which is a military term, for the best way to get a collective of people thinking about their safety and security, whether it's a church, a concert, school, sporting event, doesn't matter. Subliminally, it works. It's not like digging a ditch. It's not manual labor. When you learn it, you retain it for life. I am obnoxious, as my friends will tell me, about situational awareness. And I learned it 20, 30 years ago. Because I noticed things. And they go, "Why did you notice that?" And not only why did you notice it, but why did you have to point it out to us? It stays with you for life. So our mission is to take this curriculum that we have and teach it to as many people we can on a global scale. Much like the CPR campaign of the 80s. Most of you are not old enough to remember, but some of us are. I'm not looking at anybody. And think of the people that learn CPR. Millions of people learn CPR to the point where if you have a heart attack in a public place now, there's a very good chance somebody's going to save your life. We want to do the same thing, but we want to take advantage of today's technology. And the big difference between the CPR campaign and our campaign is going to be one thing. The life that you save might very well be your own. And unless they found a way to give yourself CPR when you're having a heart attack, I think I'm going to be right with that statement. So our goals for 2020 is to have 2 million people download our first level, and we're doing it free of charge. We're going to give it away. Our underlying mission is to give it to every teacher, not only our level 1, but our advanced training, to every teacher in the country free of charge, so that they can focus on teaching our kids without worrying about carrying guns and active shooter drills, but they can be more aware. And they are our leaders when it comes to taking care of our kids. So I'm going to actually contact Matt Groening, and I'm going to ask him if he will do me a Homer. You know, like the Uncle Sam, I need you. I'm thinking Homer for us. So anyway, awareness can and will save lives. And the vast majority of people who will be practicing this is going to be women. It's going to be parents. It's going to be teachers, because women are the traditional prey of bad people. And so, as I leave, I want you to think 4 things that you can take with you today, okay? 1, notice objects. And don't feel bad when you notice an object. When you see a bag at a train station, sitting there with nobody there. Do not be reluctant to report it to somebody. Who cares if it's some idiot who left a bag? Because I guarantee the one time you don't report it and you did see it, it's going to blow up. So notice objects. Next, notice people. Where'd it go? Oh, I took that one. Notice people. Notice people around you. Make a game of it. I'll give you a good example of how this works. I know situational awareness, and I went to a speaking engagement, not political, where there was a lot of Secret Service guys. And I'm not a wave and shake and yeah, rah, rah. And I'm there, and I'm listening. And I thought to myself, as a situational awareness specialist, those Secret Service guys are probably freaking out right now. So what did I do? I brought myself to their attention. I waved, I made eye contact with them, I showed my open hands, I pulled out a challenge coin that I wanted to give to the speaker, and they acknowledged it so they could focus on the anomalies that could be trouble. So when you look around and you look at people, have fun, make a game of it, test yourself. You go to a club, where did I see that person? Oh, I saw that person here. You can make a game of it. The third one is your entry and your exit points. Just because you walk in the front door, it doesn't mean you're going to go out the front door. Always, always, always learn where your exits are. You never know when it might come in need. Could be a bar fight, could be a fire, could be a shooting or anything. And the other thing is, if there is no exit, a chair and a window make a pretty good combination. Pick something up, throw it through the window and go out the window. Don't hide in place. Get out of there and run, 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 run. So learn your exits. And then the last one is my favorite. Trust your gut. Trust your gut. When you have a feeling that something is not right, it's because your gut, your subconscious mind is telling you. Whether you choose to listen to it or not, that's up to you. But once you start learning situational awareness and you start trusting your gut, you will be safer, and we will save lives. Thank you very much for your time.